me. 3, 2, 1.
Hello guys, Tune here back again. Well, I want to do a little bit of an update on the cab. Since I did the original video showing what I did to get the cab up and running, I've changed a few bits in and out and I've done a few mods to it, so I just want to go over what I've actually done, and this is probably the final setup. I am possibly going to buy a new control panel, but I'll explain that in a minute. Anyway, so there's the cab. As you can see, I've got the pink lights around it, and above there is my Neo Geo CD and Saturn, and there's a webcam and everything. And there's some of my consoles I put to the side and some of my arcade stuff. But anyway, there's the actual cab itself, my stool on the bottom there, all the wires and everything. So we'll get a bit closer. So what I've actually done to the cab, I've got my Bub and Bob at the top of the cab. I don't know if you can see them. I quite like them, they're quite cool. And there's a Teoto sign up at the, it's not a marquee or anything. I can't fit the marquee, as you can see, but I found it on eBay. It's pretty much a wooden Teoto sign to make it look like it's an old sign, and it was literally about 12 quid. I thought it was quite cool, so I chucked it on there. But to say, the first mod I did, I put like an LED strip in the lights, so you can see it. As you go from above, you can't see it, but it lights up nice and red. The strip I put in there is the same as the one on the side. It's I don't know, it doesn't, you can't see the LEDs quite so well. They sort of spread out, so it looks a bit nicer. So that's the first mod I did. First problem I got with the cab was the speakers on the left hand side cut off. It took me ages to figure out that Vewlix cabs, the speakers are in series, so basically if one cuts out, they both cut out on the both sides. So I had a dodgy top tweaker. I don't know if you can see in here. In here there was like I don't know, it was like a square flat tweaker. It wasn't particularly great, and it had gone faulty, so I had to strip it out. So I did a bit of looking around the internet, and I found that Dayton Audio speakers basically fit directly into the cab. Unfortunately, with my version of the Vewlix, behind the speaker, there's like a wooden box. On the bottom ones, they basically just undo the box, undo the speaker, swap it out, job done. The top ones, because this one has the tweakers inside, I had to modify the box, which, to be honest, didn't take me long. And I've got the speakers fitted straight in it. So I've got brand new speakers, top and bottom. So I ended up changing them both out. What I have noticed, since I put the speakers in, this cab is a lot louder than it was. It was loud before, but it goes up way more than it is. The speakers are nice. I can't remember the exact model speakers, but if you have a look around some of the arcade forums, they say which ones to get. They were 30 quid a pair, so they ended up costing me 60 quid, basically, to change the speakers in the cab. So that was modification number 2. Modification number 3, the cab came with a Teoto 720p arcade screen, which I have to admit, I was a little bit worried what the picture was going to be like on it, but the picture's amazing on it, especially for like old school games. It looks really, really nice, and really smooth motion and all that type of stuff. But I ended up with a chance to pick up a 1080p screen out of a diamond black Vewlix cab, which is the last Vewlix cab they ever made. The cab it came out had literally done hardly any coins, so the screen is practically brand new. So I've replaced the screen for a brand new 1080p arcade screen. The screen is pretty easy to replace. You take the side panels off, and you take the back off, and there's 4 like screw bolts. You basically undo all the plugs, take the screw bolts out, and the screen just pushes out. I will say though, if you are going to do this yourself, it's easy enough to do, but the screens, they're not light. They're about 22 kilos, because they've got a big metal frame around them. So yeah, depending if you're happy picking that up, otherwise you just get somebody to help you. But it was pretty easy on your own. You just push it out, grab it, pull it, and then push the other one back in. So that was the second mod I've done. That's the third mod I've done to it. The control panel now, I'll move these. I got my PlayStation pad and everything else on here. As you can see, it's my iPad I use for streaming, and my keyboards and everything. There was a card reader mount by here, which I took off because they had some screws sticking up, so I got rid of that. This button here changes the USB for the arcade stick. there, and it changes it to 4 different outputs, so I can basically swap it, which is very nice. It saves me swapping wires. What I ended up doing, as you see on the control panel, I ended up cutting the control panel and putting in an autofire switch for the Brook, and then the touchpad, because that's pretty handy to have, to be honest. You need that. Then I did a home button, and I put some USBs on there. One goes to the PC, one goes to the PS4, and I put a volume switch. Nothing online I could find at all about the volume, but I ended up finding a Alps volume potentiometer, and I did try a cheaper one which didn't work particularly too good, but the Alps one works perfect. So this is what I've done. I've turned the cab up, and I can literally just change the volume up and down, which is super handy. It saves going inside the cab to do it. As you say, this cab is loud, so I'll turn that back down. So that was the sort of 5th mod I did, essentially. The other one is the light in the control panel. The light was there, but it was turned off. I think, well, it was unplugged, actually. I think I know why. It's bright, really, really bright. So I was thinking of a way of maybe sort of getting like a dimmer switch or something for it, but because it's a tube light, I wasn't sure whether that would work. So what I ended up doing in the end, you know the plastic film you can get for cars, for basically shading your windows out. I got some of that film, and I placed a piece of the film on top of the glass underneath, and to be honest, that is absolutely perfect. Even with the lights off, that does not distract your eyes. It's just bright enough basically to be non-distracting. As you can see on the camera, you're not really seeing any problems with the light. It's not too glaring, and yeah, that's perfect. It just lights it up just enough so you can see everything, and it's all great. So I ended up buying I get a couple of panels made. They're in like not mylar, there's some thicker plastic than mylar. I ended up getting 4 panels made. I could always get more done, but it was like 30 quid for 4. The other mod I did then was the actual stick. I put a Sanwa special edition stick in it, the LS32. So that unfortunately had to have a mounting bracket for Vewlix. These Vewlix cabs only got a mounting bracket that fits Sanwa sticks. So, because I wanted to put a Shimizu stick in an LS32, I had to get a mounting bracket. But as you can see, it's got the logo on the top. It's got the gold shaft. There's a gold shaft. So I ended up getting white and gold buttons to match the stick and shaft. And then I've got this button I use as select or coin, and then the other button is start. So that's the other mod I did to it. So we'll get into the control panel. As you can see in the control panel, these are my extra overlays for the control panel. I don't know whether it's just the best way to look at this now. Let's just look at it that way. So these are the original controls, which I've unplugged, and this basically clips into there. But what I've done is I've got this going across into a Brook adapter, which I did show on the last one. And on the Brook, I've wired all the extra buttons too. So I covered captain tape underneath, so it's not going to short out on anything. And there's where the Brook lands, and that handles all the controls for the PS4, the PC, the Xbox 360, and the Mister itself. So that handles everything. If I can turn this round, you can see the special edition LS32 there, and that's the mounting bracket I had to buy to fit into here, because on here was bolted in a bracket for Sanwa sticks, but you basically can get a bracket for this, and then you can put this stick in it. And here's what the buttons look like behind. I will say this stick comes with 4 different shaft heights, and it comes with a couple of different springs, and I've literally got it on the lightest spring, and to be honest, I really like it. So that's the limited edition Sanwa. I say the limited edition comes with the gold top and the gold shaft. So I'll show you what I've done actually in the machine. So I'll cut off a minute. I'll be back in a second. Right, here we're back. Not quite sure how well you're going to see this. So this is the front control panel, which I'll take off. Shove this out the way somewhere. So when I put my hand in it, I've got they're basically magnetic lights you can get for cupboards and stuff. So I've clipped 2 of them on the inside. If I grab my keys, I managed to find some locks. I've also got an LED stripper there which lights up underneath. I've also got, I found some locks that fit. So basically, if I put my hand in there now, you'll see it goes in there. I got some locks that fit. So this is the coin mech. Inside there is the controller, and behind there is the audio amp. But this is the controller for the monitor, or the remote as they call it. It didn't quite fit on the screw holes for the old one, so I had to bend them out a bit, but it fits perfect basically. These things I bought don't stick particularly too well. So that's that. Inside there is just the coin box. I got a couple of extra bits and bobs in there. I don't know whether you can see it, but I've had to run some wiring out of the cab. It goes out to the 360, which is there next to my supergun. Basically, it comes into the cab, and then I've run a cable across and down. I bought a big 4-way, well, it's a 6-way actually, and everything's plugged into that. So this was the easiest way of doing it to make it reasonably tidy. In here then, this is where it gets interesting. I've got the top one is basically a 4-port KVM switch. It's a professional one. So I tried a 60 quid one off Amazon and it just didn't work properly. But this thing is robust. It's really good. So I've got that basically one going to the cabinet by HDMI. It looks like wire heaven in there, but one goes off to the cabinet, and then one goes off to my capture card. It goes around the room to the capture card. So basically underneath that then this is a HDMI PC KVM switch. It was cheap as chips. It was like 15 quid. And the only reason I've got this is I want it for the controls. I tried a purpose-made switch for USBs that you can swap, and it didn't work. So, but this thing works. It just runs off a cheap USB. It takes hardly any power, and I can press that button on the top, as I'll do now, and you'll see the button changing, and I can change between all the inputs on all the devices I've got connected, which is super handy, and it saves you going in and out of the cab. So underneath that then, I've upgraded the PC. I had a little PC in there, which was, it did the job for MAME and stuff. But in there now, I've got a Intel NUC Hades Canyon PC. So it's a little tiny PC, but it's a bit of a beast. It's got like 32 gig of RAM and a decent ATI graphics card and plenty of hard disk space and stuff and various other things. I'll do the light again. So this thing is running everything I chuck at it. So this is perfect for the cab, perfect for fighting games, perfect for MAME, and all emulators, 3D emulators, Dreamcast emulators, all works on it, and it all works rather nice. So I'm really happy with that, to be honest. There's a nice little pickup. They say the lights go off their own sensors, so that was a nice pickup. So that's what I've been using for PC. So that's going to last me years. That is very good indeed. Next to that then, you've got my this is always on in the cab essentially. There's my Mister, and on top of that is an MT32 Pi, and I got my various connections and wireless and everything going into that. And then underneath then I've got the PS4. PS4 is all hooked up, ready to go. I'll do that again, get the lights going. Underneath there, which you probably can't see, unfortunately, is if I pull one of these lights off, you might be able to see it actually. Right, here we go. I pulled one of the lights off. So underneath there is, on your left hand side, is my JVS power supply. On the right hand side is the power supply that goes to the lights at the top, and then I don't know if you can see behind is the monitor power supply and various other things coming in. The big one in the middle is an Airlink 100 volt step down. Lucky enough, it just sits nicely in the middle of the cab because there's a big gap in the middle, so that was perfect. So basically I haven't got it sat outside the cab, I've actually got it sat in the cab, and it seems to work perfectly fine, so that's all good. So what I've done with most of these, apart from the power supply that supplies the lights to the control panel, hang on, get my light back on. I've disconnected most of it because I'm not using it, so it's pointless disconnecting it. The other mod I had to do, there's a fan in the back, but there, that was really loud. So it's a handy fan because it obviously drags all the heat out here. But to be honest, it doesn't really get that hot in here. But I ended up modding and changing the fan. So, what else did I do? Like I said, I picked up the locks, as you can see. They were only cheaper locks. I wanted to get proper arcade ones. But I don't know, they're always out of stock. So I'm going to keep my eye out and then get the better quality ones. But these ones, to be honest, they do the job for what they are. The only one that doesn't work properly is there's one that goes in the control panel. But the way the lock moves in the control panel, the lock has to be at a slight angle. Otherwise, you can't open and shut the control deck. So, which is a bit weird. So let me check that light back in there. So that's all the modifications. I say it looks a bit nuts in there. And I've got like USB power hubs running the LEDs. And obviously that runs my switch. And then I got the power supply for everything. But I've got it all nicely fitting in there. And then when you can just put the door. Unfortunately, I can't put the door on because I wouldn't want to do it anyway because it acts like a Faraday cage essentially. So basically, you don't get any Wi-Fi. But I just tend to just leave the door hanging like that, and then at least it gets some air in there, so there's not any problems. Because I got all my wires, I'd have to reroute all these through the bottom of the cab or something if I came to it. So I'm not going to do that. Plus, I'm not going to keep it locked anyway. So I managed to put a lock on there anyway, so I used the original locks. So if I take that back off, yeah, so that's pretty much what I've done. I would say that's pretty much my fun. I don't need to buy anything else for it. The only thing I am looking at possibly is buying a new control panel. I found a guy that does custom ones, and I'm looking into getting a custom 8-button control panel, which will be handy for PS4 and various other things, with a coin and a start. But he says he could do one. He says he was going to get back to me, but he hasn't got back to me as yet. The guy's in Korea, so we'll see. But apparently his panels are pretty much top notch, like originals. So as soon as he gets back to me, and then once I get that is literally, there's nothing else I need to do to this cab. So as you can see, it runs beautifully and works excellent. So like I say, all the kit I've got in there will do perfect. The PC is going to last me a long time. Obviously the Mister does everything I need on the PS4. So and obviously I got it connected to the 360. I was thinking about putting the 360 in there, but as you can see, I am running out of room. I could, if I probably really tried, because if you look, it does go up. Go back in. It does go up quite far, so there is room in here if I needed to. But I just play on the outside. The handy thing of having a cable and a USB and a HDMI going out there is that the fact that I could use it to plug a FrameMeister in, and all the consoles I've got set up, I can literally play them on the cab, or I can play the 360, or I could plug in whatever I wanted into it. So it's quite useful in that way. So it's a bit of an external view. So guys, that's the update on the cab. Like I said, apart from the control panel, there's nothing else I want to do to it other than just play on it basically. So I may end up getting some more panel artwork possibly to swap in and out, but I'll just swap it occasionally. But yeah, so guys, that's the update on the cab, and hope you enjoyed that. And if you've got any questions, ask me, and I've got no problem to fill you in. I can always probably find some of the stuff I've actually put in here if anyone needs any help. But apart from that, hope you enjoyed the update, and I'll catch you soon. Bye now.